name is Vincent John, and I will be your moderator for this evening. This is a CPD, that is, Continuous Professional Development event, and carries a value of 2 CPD points. Please contact our secretariat to have your CPD information forwarded to you should you wish to claim those points. A bit of housekeeping. Please note that these sessions are run as follows. We will introduce our presenter, who will present for between 30 and 40 minutes. We then will have an open session to our general audience where we invite you to ask questions and interact with our guests. This is done either by raising your hand, at which time the moderator will acknowledge you and invite you to ask your questions. Alternatively, you can post your questions in the chat and I will answer the question on your behalf. We ask that you please mute your electronic devices unless you are asking a question. We have a very exciting topic tonight, and it's being presented by our friends from Harris Paints. Tonight's topic is smart roofing for tropical climates, sustainable, energy-saving roof solutions with Henry Coatings. Before we get going on our presentation for tonight, however, just some quick reminders. For those of you who are members of BAPE, just a reminder that the annual dinner will be coming up just now in October. And this is our annual awards dinner where we get to recognize those persons who will ascend to the Office of Fellow within the organization. But also it is the event where we select our engineering award, engineering project of the year for that special award. We are fortunate this year to have, again, the President of Barbados will be in attendance. And I'm asking our members to please come out and support the event as you did last year and in previous years. We do have packages that will be going on sale very shortly, and we expect our tickets to be available within the next 2 weeks. Sponsorship packages are also available, and I ask that you can give Stacy a call at the office and she'll be able to fill you in on the sponsorship packages that we will have available for our celebration week. So look out for some flyers, look out for some information that will be coming out very shortly pertaining to the engineering week and our annual awards dinner and celebration. I also want to remind members that coming up in November, then we will also be having our AGM. So for members who may be willing to serve, want to get plugged in a more meaningful way, that will be your opportunity to do such. So I'm going to introduce our speakers for this afternoon's presentation. Mr. Paul Valentin. Paul is an accomplished sales manager in the building product sector with a focus on high-performance coatings and construction solutions. Currently represented Henry, a Carlisle company, Paul brings a strategic mindset to the promotion of advanced roofing and waterproofing systems. He's based in Tampa, Florida, and he's a graduate of the University of Connecticut and has built a respected reputation for consultative sales approaches within the coatings industry. His knowledge of silicone and elastomeric roof technologies, along with his customer-first ethos, has made him a valued partner to architects, contractors, and distribution networks throughout the region. Our second individual who will be participating this evening is Mr. Simon Cabral. He is the Senior Manager of High Performance Coatings and Trade with Harris Paints. Simon has over 15 years of experience with protective, industrial, and marine coatings and corrosion protection. He holds professional designation from the International Paint and Coating Associations, including AMPP, NACE, MPI, and SSPC. Prior to his tenure in the corrosion and coatings industry, he worked in the finance sector in Trinidad for 6 years, after having graduated with honors with a BA in economics, with a finance concentration from New York City in 2004. So Simon has a varied and wide background and experience, and he's guaranteed me that he's not into politics. That's just a little jab from our conversation earlier on. But I want to welcome both gentlemen most warmly to our session this afternoon. So Simon, welcome all the way from Trinidad to Barbados. We do have CariFesta coming up at the start and the end of this week, so you are more than invited to come over and participate. And Paul, that invitation also extends out to you if you want to come down and have some Caribbean, because CariFesta is all about the Caribbean, some Caribbean experiences. You are more than welcome to come to Barbados next week as well. So, guys, without further ado, I'm going to turn this session over to you, and I will come back in for our question and answer segment. So, without further ado, Paul and Simon.
Thank you so much, Vincent. What an introduction. I'm sorry I had you reciting the alphabet with all of the certifications. I should take them out for you next time. Firstly, on behalf of Harris Paints, BH Paints, and Henry, we'd like to thank you guys for having us, the BAPE, and welcome to everybody who's here today. I'm seeing some familiar faces. Well, I'm seeing the names. I'm seeing some familiar names and some new ones. So it's really great to finally get here, for Harris to get here. As you know, we've been around
She sleep
Barbados.
down by her mother. When
As you know, we've been around Barbados 50 years and we're very much into innovation. Paul is going to take the majority of the presentation, but just to introduce Paul and Henry, we've really been looking at the industry and what innovations are making the most sense, the most impact and environmental change and all these sort of things. In the Caribbean, we know what the cost of energy is. We know what that electric bill is at the end of the day. And we're always looking for solutions to improve on that. What we found when we went looking around, not only was the silicone, industry booming, it really started becoming popular in the 80s and 90s. But now with technological advancements, some products stand out superior. Some technological advancements make a bigger impact on your energy conservation and savings and other things. And we really looked around the market for a good 6 months to a year. We did some testing of Cool Roof, and we found this product, this PG988 silicone. And it really, really stood out to us. So, of course, we reached out to Henry. Paul has been nothing but accommodating. They've given us the pricing. It's very competitive. And we're just really excited to bring you guys this presentation today. The benefits are just, imperial. They just go on and on. And it's really fantastic to be able to get 10, 20, 30-year roofing systems that actually help you with your energy bill. So again, thank you for having us. And Paul, I'll hand it over to you to take over.
So thank you. Looks like my audio is working. Simon, can you confirm you can hear me?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. My name is Paul Valentin. I'm here to go over, I'm the representative for Henry. I cover South Florida as well as the Caribbean. And I'm going to go over high level what the coating market looks like. So very first, let's start with who Henry is, right? So we've been serving building owners for 90 years by extending life of commercial roofs. Give me one sec. Just got to move something over. There we go. We have an advanced portfolio of liquid coating systems. Our goal is simple, enabling the gift of time. I'll show you some materials and we'll actually have some live demos of things. So I like to be a little hands-on. And same goes for questions. So if at any point you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, type in the chat menu. Simon will be monitoring it and we can answer those questions for you as we go. Our dedicated team of experts is invested in your success from start to finish. So I'm always an option as well as Simon for questions on pictures, videos, conditions of certain roofs, and what our solutions would be. When looking at Henry, a Carlisle company, Henry was acquired by Carlisle around 3 years ago. We have a full medley of products because of that. And this is just along the coatings market. Obviously, as Carlisle, we also have underlayments, TPOs, single ply membranes, things of that nature. For us, and for what I handle, is the entire line. I handle from silicones, acrylics, aluminum coatings, emulsions, polyurethanes, spray foam, polyurethane foam, mastics, and repair cements, as well as mod bit. These are all products that we carry throughout our whole line. We warrant them throughout systematic parts as well. And compared to our competitors, we have a full umbrella of it. So that's a little bit about us. What I like to do is go into roof restoration, what we're here to talk about. So what is roof restoration? It's a process of repairing and returning a roof to watertight energy efficient state, extending its lifespan and performance. And you can think of it like this 1957 Chevy Bel Air. It's like restoring the car. You have all the bones, everything from inside, the engine's looking good, everything is solid. It's the exterior may be deteriorated at some point. We're going to repair, refresh, and so then that car is right back on the road, saving a lot of resources. The truth of the matter is, all roofs will weather over time. I was talking to Simon earlier. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I know a lot of concrete roofs, metal roofs. I'm sure it's very familiar throughout the Caribbean climate. Even in those times, we have rainy seasons, we have hot seasons where water can ease its way into place and create deterioration or cracks, as well as the sun's UV rays can cause more deterioration. As the roof ages, it begins to wear and eventually leak, leading some people to think the roof needs to be completely replaced. Here, you'll see an option of a roof that may be on its last leg, but still has those bones, as what we talked about on that Chevy Bel Air. It has everything, just the outside maybe not looking as ideal. And over time, this will get to a condition that it may not be restorative, and it may have to be fully replaced. We like to take advantage of getting there before that. And you can see right after that same exact roof coated with our PG 988 silicone. So just because a roof leaks doesn't mean it needs to be replaced. A lot of times someone will say, my roof's leaking. I need to have something where they have multiple leaks. The general rule is if it's roughly 25 to 30% of the roof is damaged, or if repair costs reach 30% or greater of replacement costs, it's generally more cost effective and often code required to replace that rather than fully repair it. Now, if you're under that threshold, 5, 10, 15, 20%, you may actually be to a point that restoration would still be a valuable option to seal the entire roof and add on another 10, 15, or 20 years of longevity towards it. So here's another example of a before and after. You can see some repairs on the pipe fittings, around some skylight fittings, a lot of penetrations on roofs. That's the place that water is going to start ponding, entering in. It loves the path of least resistance, and so you can see repairs on it. And you can see after that same roof fully restored, sealed in, and now coated monolithically with silicone. Many older roofs are in sound condition, can be preserved with roof restoration. And here's another option of that. It offers a lot of benefits to building owners. Now, the key reasons why to replace. This is where it comes into it. Money speaks. Up to 4 times of the cost savings when you switch over to coatings versus a traditional full roof replacement. You provide energy savings up to 50% with a cool roof coating system. It prevents disruptions to the building and its occupants because you're rolling it or spraying it on. You're not putting out and finishing out the full roof. So you're able to actually continue having the building with occupants. And one of my key parts that makes me feel like I'm doing my part is we're reducing landfill waste and impact. The environmental impact of with studies of replacing roofs is throwing out, sometimes 70%, 75%, 80% of good sound material roofing off into the landfill. So this is a great way to be eco-friendly, cost savings, get energy savings, just all around really beneficial. Now, so I say that and I think, well, then why wouldn't we do it? Well, if we can catch a roof early enough, then we're in a spot that we're ready to restore it. That's the benefit, is getting to it in time. If you get to it after the moment where it's been saturated with water, like you see on the top left or on the top right, where it's just deteriorated beyond all ability, then the restoration would not be accessible. And now you're looking at a higher costly replacement. So the first way of looking through roofs, we go through 4 steps. The first is the eye test. Very simple. We look at a roof. If there's a pool on this roof, it's probably not a candidate. If there's complete exist elimination of the single ply or a mod bit, it's probably beyond gone. Now, the bottom 2 are perfect candidates. They're sound, they look good. We don't see any areas that would be problematic. So that would be the first test of passing. So no to this one, no to that one, yes to this, and yes to this metal seam roof. The second part to make sure that we can use the coating is to make sure that we do an adhesion test. I've heard and I've been around in many markets where a lot of people think it's a miracle in a bucket. We take the bucket, you pour it out, and it's good to go. You're only as good as a substrate, just like in most situations. So if that substrate is beyond gone, you're really just putting a Band-Aid, that's something that won't be adequate. So the very first part is to make sure that once we pass the eye test, that we know that the product that we're going to be using, whether it is an acrylic or an acrylic elastomeric or a silicone, that you do an adhesion test. An adhesion test is pretty simple. You use a 1 inch polyester fabric. If you have larger, if it's 2, 3, 4, it's a simple math equation. But we're looking for 2 pounds per 1 inch, linear inch of on a pull test. And so you'd see here, if you look on the left, you'd have 2 passes there. And then we just score the sides, pull up on the scale, and we score those sides of the mesh here to make sure that we're really testing the cohesive bond of the silicone. We don't want to give it any additional benefits. We want to make sure that silicone is sticking to the substrate well. And to the right, you'll see what an adhesion cohesive failure would look like. That is showing that the coating is still remaining on. If it were to pull off and you'd see the substrate below, it would have failed the test. And we can look at primer options. It's something that we have unique to Henry and Carlisle. And I'll go over that a little later. But this is the next step on making sure that we can coat a roof, is to make sure that what we put on it will stick. A good rule of thumb is, like we saw with the other pictures, there may be roofs with repairs, dissimilar materials, or even damage that may look different than the other. Each section of dissimilar material or each section that is different, you would use an adhesion test to make sure that when you pass that, or pass the silicone or acrylic, that you are adhering to it. The third is a moisture survey. This just ensures that we make sure that the roof is in dry sound condition. And I'll go into the reasons for that in a bit, but this will just show that there's multiple different ways of doing it. We have infrared scanning, core testing. With concrete, there's also a vinyl tape testing that you could put over as a superficial test as well. If it's greater than 25% is wet, then that would mean that the roof is not a candidate. That goes into the beginning of we've already lost it, it's too late. But if it's less than 25%, we're looking pretty good. We still have to repair the damaged sections to make sure that it is dry and sound so that when we do have that coating, it is on a good base. But this is the other part of the test. And then the last is to repair it, restore it. So this just shows the difference of removing and replacing wet installation, removing and replacing the damaged decking, and then infilling the damaged area with roofing-like materials. Simon, I don't have the chat, but I just want to make sure if there are any questions at this point.
No, you're good.
Awesome. So when we look at coatings, the most popular ones that we go over, elastomeric acrylic coatings, silicone coatings. We have a myriad of different options as well, but these are the most popular. So with acrylic coatings, you'll see it's still a white, cool roof applied onto the roof, similar to what we looked at with the silicone pictures. With our pro-grade acrylic line, we have our 280 and our AcryShield 400. They're both acrylics, and they're really more based on geography of areas. In our market, we deal with AcryShield 400. It's a more cost-efficient product. It's a high-performing product, and it's one of our newest acquisitions in the last few years, where the ProGrade 280 was a Henry original line. Part of the acrylic, they're 100% acrylic resin. They're highly resistant to disbonding, chalking, mildew, fungi, or discoloration. There is a dirt pickup resistant technology. You'll see a top 10% of initial SRI, and it can be applied to damp surfaces, not wet, but applied to damp surfaces, because the nature of an elastic mirror coating, just like our primers, is that there does allow some wetness to remove itself from the roof, where silicone would not allow that. Some of the differences between the acrylic products and the silicones is, while the acrylic is going to have the dirt pickup resistance, is going to have a reflective white coating, it is also organic in nature, which means it's going to be broken down by other organic things, such as UV, water ponding. There is no exclusion over that because it's a water-based acrylic. So while these are typically more cost efficient, the payback is you're usually doing 2 turns. You're applying it twice over because the The level of solids in this is around 56%. I have to see if we have it listed, but we have the solids are going to be less. So once it dries off and cures, you're going to be with less millage. So at that point, we want to make sure to have at least 22, 23 dry mills. It typically goes in two applications, where silicone could be one. So you put a lot more labor into these types of products. They are a little more forgiving with wet surfaces or moist surfaces. But it's not the ideal for handling true waterproofing protection. They come in various colors: white, sand, light, and dark gray. And they also have a unique bleed blocking property, which is what we use as our primers for asphaltic surfaces, which aren't as common in the Caribbean, but we'll go into some detail if those come in through specs. The accessories that typically go with the acrylics is we have our acrylic, the 280 or the 400. You have a base coat sealer. That is what's going to be used on top of an asphaltic, a mod bit, or granulated cap sheet, because those it needs to leach off, and all those asphaltic plasticizers will actually leach through. So we'll have a base coat to seal that down before applying a top coating onto it. And that would be done on any type of roof, whether it's if it's asphaltic, you'd always use some type of base coat, just to kind of make sure that that staining isn't done. We have a 295 metal seam sealer for metal seams. This goes great. We'll go over those in some details. Roof sealants, and fabric as well. I'm going to quickly go through these because it's just more higher level. But as I mentioned before, this is a one-part stain blocking acrylic coating for asphaltic surfaces. You'll see that it's also used as a guide coat because it's a gray coating, as you see on the top right picture. That's what it would look like finished. And then you can go over on a top coat with a white coating typically, so you get that reflective nature, but you're also not getting blinded by having two coats of white. It can be spray, rolled, or brush applied. Colors come in gray, and then the sizes are there. Metal seam sealer or PrimeTech metal primer. For metal roofs, whenever you deal with areas of some superficial rust or light rusting, you can use a rust inhibitor primer, which is our PrimeTech metal primer. If you have seams that are less than 1/8 of an inch in movement, you would use a metal seam sealer for an acrylic-based system. And this is to make sure that it has high tensile strength and elongation. On the seams and fasteners is where typically you're going to see all of your leakage penetrations. There is no fabric required with this. It can be coated with a water or solvent base, which in this case would be an aluminum coating or an acrylic coating. It can be brushed, sprayed, or bulk loaded, and you use it on seams. With acrylic sealants, if you had a roof that is, say, we just have pipe fittings or penetrations, scuppers, or drains, is what we're seeing on the bottom there, you can use an acrylic sealant. What this is going to do is just a little more masticky. It's almost like a paste-like, and that's going to give it more robust security and safeness. So this can be applied to dry or damp surfaces. It's ready to use. It skins over very quickly. It's not full cure, but it'll skin over quickly. It can be coated again with a white or tinted acrylic coating, and it can be applied very easily with a trowel or brush. The sealants are used, and this goes with silicone sealants or acrylic sealants, penetrations, flashings, drains, seams, fasteners, or any repairs. It comes in white, and then we have various different sizes from tubes or pails. Now, this is very common with elastomeric systems. The polyester fabric is an embedded fabric put into, after your base coat, you would embed the fabric and put a top coat of acrylic. And that's going to create a more bonded nature for the acrylic. It's going to give it more elasticity, more tensile strength. With ours, we have systems up to 20 years that we do not implore using polyester fabric. We understand that it is something that there are those that have used it in the past, and they're just used to it. But with modern technology and what we have more robust systems, and typically theoretically polyester fabric works as what it needs to be. But in practice, it starts rippling and leaving fish mouths, gaps that, if not fully sealed or covered and very easy to miss, will have water penetration areas. So for the sake of our systems, we find that it's better not to use fabric, but we do bring it up because we do understand there are antiquated systems that utilize it. We do have specifications that can utilize it if necessary, but in most cases are not needed. Typically, I would see them over metal seams on a metal roof, if it's over 1/8 inch of movement, and that's just to give it more reinforcement. So let's talk about what's hot to trot and what everyone loves right now. It's silicone. Silicone's big, so let's discuss it. 988 is our pro grade silicone. It comes in white, gray, or tan. We also have a medley of different accessories that go with it that are also silicone based. Now, it's very key to know that nothing will stick to silicone but silicone. So in the products before, if you were to have a roof that have any of those products, you can add silicone on top of it. But if you were to use any of these products to seal or coat your roof, you have an inorganic best of the best system. And part of the secureness and waterproofing of it is that it will not allow other things to stick to it. Molecularly, it does not bond other than other silicones. So this is the best of the best, and we'll kind of go into it. But just a big caveat, because I've seen that before where someone sees they're not sure what they have. Maybe someone uses a mastic silicone and then a mastic aluminum, and that's why those pull tests are very evident or very important to put down. So silicone, unlike acrylics, can be put in one coat, up to 50 mils, all put down. The solids are a lot higher, 92%, so what you're left with is a lot more once it's cured. It's a primerless application, and I'll go into the details of our silicone. A lot of the times you may hear, well, silicone is silicone is silicone, and I kind of equate it to, oxtail. My mom's oxtail soup is going to be different than someone else's. That recipe is key. So what happens here is going to be very similar. We have different ingredients, and I'll go into those ingredients and what makes and what, when you look at a data page, what are some key factors to look into. But with ours, we have a primerless application. It has great adhesion. It's rain safe in 15 minutes, which in Florida, in the Caribbean, we all see it. You see clouds. If you can see a cloud coming, you'd stop the coating process. Hopefully you have 15 minutes of time. If water and rain were to come down, you would be fine because it would already have a top coat sheen. You let that dry once the rain is done. Make sure it's fully dry, so it'll probably come the next day or depending on the level of rain, and then go over and continue on. So it's not disruptive. And this is specific to Henry, is we have a rain safe in 15 minutes. It's part of the chemistry that we have. We really put a lot of quality ingredients into the product. Now, that is not to say that it's not cost efficient. And I'm sure, Simon, as you go through projects, you'll find that it's actually very cost efficient. It's just we like to set ourselves apart. A lot of times the questions are we over engineering our products? And I'm fine with it. I think they're high performing. We have a patent on dirt pickup resistant formula. It keeps roofs whiter, brighter, and longer. It passes an ASTM D7821 standard test for waterproofing on its own without any additional membranes. I'll have pictures on this in just a little bit, so if it's like feeling like you're drinking through a fire hose, don't worry, I'm throwing a lot, but I'll pick it out each one at a bit, each at a little bit. The last is that it is NSF P151 rainwater catchment safe, and so it's potable water safe, and it has a 2-year shelf life. So what makes ours different? Simon, did you have something?
No, I'm getting ready to jump in, but keep going. You're going good.
Cool. What makes it different? Adhesion promoters. This is what allows the silicone to bond to the substrate. We put a lot of adhesion promoters into it. We've passed tests. I've been on roofs where I've gone with competitors' testings versus ours, and we will pull greater pounds per linear inch. Cross linkers, this gives it the bond as well. And that also gives into our dirt pickup resistance and rain safe safeness after 15 minutes. TiO2 is an active white ingredient. The opposite of that would be your chalks. So we put a lot of TiO2, which I will show in a demo what that looks like compared to others when you put more titanium oxide into it. And then solid content. So these are the 4 that when we look at a silicone, what are the 4 things that we're looking for? We want to make sure that it sticks and has proper adhesion promoters. It's not just any silicone picked up that may not have correct adhesion. Cross linkers to keep it strong, TiO2 to keep it white, bright, longer, and the solid content. So when it's laid out, it's not a low solid silicone. Whatever you lay out, most of it, 92%, will remain on the roof, allowing it to be one coat.
Okay, Paul, I got one question in the crowd.
Yes, sir.
Do your roof coatings have a maximum allowable substrate temperature for application? Given that we are in the Caribbean and often experience high surface temperatures, could you also advise on the ideal temperature range for applying your coatings?
Yeah, as far as we've done studies onto it, because silicone is inorganic, acrylic would be a different answer, and I don't have that one in front of me. But with silicone, it does have a high threshold, so it can be applied up to roof substrates because a typical roof may hit 160, 170 degrees. The silicone will have no issue with that. Does that answer the question? Frederick Johnson, you have a question for me?
Frederick, you have to unmute.
I'll continue on. If you have your mic that gets on mic, feel free to speak out and I will take your question or put it into the chat, just to save on time. But I look forward to your question. Oop. So adhesion promoters, the best adhesion promoter we can use is a strong chemical bond to the roof that substrate than other silicones. Our silicone adhesion promoter is a bifunctional molecule with both carbon reactive and silicone reactive ends. So this will allow the carbon side chemically cross-links with a carbon-based surface like plastics or other organics, while the silicone side bonds to silicone polymers, forming a strong bond and covalent bridge between the two otherwise incompatible materials. Do you have other questions in here? Okay. Crosslinkers, also known as cross-linking agents, are molecules with multiple reactive groups that chemically bond polymer chains together, creating a 3D network. The more crosslinkers, the better shelf life, hence why it goes 2 years. Some may go 1 year. Better mechanical adhesion, that's what helps it stick and bond correctly. Better waterproofing, and a higher sheen. And then the third of the fourth is TiO2. We use high-grade TiO2, no calcium carbonate. When looking at a data page of silicones, you may notice that you'll see an active ingredient, calcium carbonate, which is also commonly known as chalk. What chalk will do is you'll have a very nice shine white roof, but very quickly after that, the calcium carbonate will start coming out, and you actually have a more chalky, more rubberized type of feel. So typically, when you go on a silicone roof, you'll have a grip-like feel, which actually will start collecting dirt. It'll start attracting it and stick onto it. So to get our patent dirt pickup resistant, we had to really high load the TiO2, which helps create that brighter, whiter, longer roof. So you may see those differences. Those are low cost fillers. TiO2 is expensive, but it gives it a longer service life, a better shelf life, better UV resistance, better for weathering. And if you wash your silicone 15 years down the road, it's still going to be bright, shiny white compared to competitors who use the chalk and will appear matte and dull. And then the last was solid contents. So as I mentioned, it's 92% plus or minus 3%, which is a nice fluidity and viscosity to allow it to be poured, rolled, sprayed, but as well as keep down most of the contents. It's enough to make it rain safe in 15 minutes, but not too much to cure it out too quickly where it wouldn't be workable. What does this all mean? Lower labor costs, easily applied. It's a high build capability, generally requires only one coat. It's a full roof fabric reinforcement is not required. So this is another system that we would use no fabric. Its adhesion minimizes the need for primer coats. There are a lot of times that you may see specifications that before putting down a silicone, they will require a primer to go down. That's typically, we don't have that because our silicone has already been robusted with the adhesion promoters. So it saves another step, it saves more money, it saves more time. And then it comes with lifetime 10, 15, or 20-year material and labor warranties as well. So this is where I'm going to go a little live. I have a little setup on my table here. And so the first is our dirt pickup resistance. So this is one of our patents. With that TiO2, with those expensive ingredients that we're putting into it, we're going to get a silicone that's going to act very differently. And you can see here with the 988 that we simulate dirt by putting a blue chalk onto a flashing with silicone. And we have our competitors as well. Once we put those together, we put a light mist and kind of see them act. So let's give that an action. I'm going to turn this over and you're all going to walk with me. Let's see if I can not make a mess here because I have a lot of silicones. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is just for a live demonstration. It's for me, I like seeing it live in person. I know I can't be there. I wish I was. But what I'm going to do is simulate the same test that we have there. We have two pieces of metal flashing, both coated with white silicone, both high solid silicone, one a competitor and one Henry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, I'm going to use some blue chalk as what we do in that test there, and I'm going to simulate some dirt. Pretty good. This one's coated really heavily, so this one may have a disadvantage, but I'm okay with it. We're going to start with this one here. I'll put a little more dirt just to make it even because we need a control and we need a test, so we got to make sure everything's near sim. Okay. Oh, actually, hold on. I forgot. I set up another thing right here. Okay. So we're going to simulate with the light mist and rain. I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to let it lie. And you can see we have a little dirt kind of still stuck in there. If this was a flat roof, it's going to be typically on a low slope to no slope roof. And so this is going to be contained within it. That will eventually start accumulating over time. So we're going to have to give that a couple wipes, but I'll wipe that in a bit. That's just a couple sprays. Now we have the other one that got absolutely drenched in it. And we're going to simulate, make sure we can see it. Just one more mist. So you can see the two, and you can see that difference. This is the competitor product, and this is the PG988. And what you can see is it actually acts like a Teflon. It comes off very smooth with a quick wipe. I'm def with a white, bright, clean roof. With the competitors, we still have it stained on just a little bit. I'm going to give it a light rub. So we're going to have to do a little more pressure washing to it, a little more elbow grease into it.
The PUR test is really phenomenal when you see it. When you see it live, you know, two big panels on a roof next to each other is fantastic. Paul, I'm interjecting. I have one more question in the crowd. I semi-answered it.
Yes.
As the silicone coating is safe to be used in portable water tanks, which is not really designed for that, can it be applied on vertical wall surfaces and overhead applications that you may get when waterproofing tanks? So I give an initial answer, you type in. It's not ideal for tanks. It's a different NSF standard and environment. Immersion and collection or harvesting are different. But yes, you can definitely apply it on vertical walls. I realize your hands are a little busy, Paul, so I started the answer off, but you could take it from there. How was that?
No, you're fine. So with looking into vertical or even high slope applications onto a roof with coatings, you're still dealing with something that will drip down. So typically, if it's a 412 pitch or less, you're going to be fine to coat it with a silicone or an acrylic. If you're going on a straight vertical, you wouldn't want to use a top coat because it as well as to adhere, you'd have to do multiple coats. So at a straight vertical, I'd almost think to get 22 mils, maybe 4 or 5 passes with it, letting it cure and continue to add on. Because the key nature of that is that we just don't want it sagging and dripping down. We have silicones that you can place on vertical walls. Those are for flashing applications. So we use a butter grade, which is a sealant, and then perfect for high temperature vertical application or even overhead is a fibered silicone. It's a robust mastic silicone with fibers into it, giving it a very thick application, but that would still have to be top coated. So you would be able to, say on a vertical or parapet wall, you can coat with a flashing with our 957 fibered silicone, and then top coat it with the 988. But again, with the 988, you still, on any of those applications, you'll be fighting gravity.
And one more question. I hope
Yeah.
that answers your question. Sure, and I'll be happy to talk to you about potable water tank linings. The next question is on warranties. Do you provide, and I could semi-answer with you on this, Paul, do you provide warranties on roof coating applications? If so, are they approved or certified installers that you recommend for warranty eligibility? And yes, Matthew, we would provide warranties on roof coatings. There's a warranty design table that I'll be happy to share after as well, which basically gives you, the expected durability of the silicone system on various roof substrates, if it's mud-bit, if it's concrete, and so forth. And we have been shooting out a couple of the applicator approval forms out there. It's a process that you have to go through so that we can support that on the ground. So again, we'd be happy to discuss that with you further. Paul, is there anything you want to add on to that?
No, I think you answered that exactly how I would. We have programs with applicators. We always want to make sure that we partner up with those applicators to make sure that they're doing all the right practices. We will add support for them for anyone that is new, not a new applicator, but wants to be new with us. We always just make sure that we go over each and every single type of scenario, detail work. And in usually the first few roofs, we are there with them, walking them through at no cost, just to make sure that our product is getting the best application for it.
Exactly. If I could add in one more thing on that, because I know we started to run low on time. And this one goes back to Matthew with the approved installers. We really do want to work with you, as Paul was saying. What we've noticed, and I've noticed this in Barbados in particular, a little bit in Trinidad and a little bit in Jamaica. I've gone up on quite a few roofs, and we're seeing good products there, whether it's acrylics or silicones or other mastics and so forth. And when we go and do some inspections, we're noticing failures that should have been avoided. You know what I mean? This guy should have used a primer. This substrate should have been grinded a little bit. It was too smooth and so forth. So we definitely, part and parcel of this whole regime is definitely that, to see how many guys out there really want to step it up and get approved and get high quality applications going. So I'm glad that was a great question, is my whole point on that. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, one more. On an existing concrete roof, this is a good one, with torch on. Should the torch on be removed first before applying your products?
Torch on modified or bitumen type of membrane, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Yeah, no, we coat those all day, every day. Is the key is like what we look at. We want to make sure that the condition is in good sound condition. If there's any areas that are completely delaminated, we would want to make sure to replace and repair those areas so that the roof is still in sound condition. But here in Florida and all throughout the U.S. as well, and stateside, we do modified bitumen roofs all the time. After passing all through the eye test, the moisture survey, things of that nature, you'd put a bleed blocker down. That is that acrylic-based bleed blocker, and that just makes sure that the modified bitumen does not leach out and bleed out. What will happen if you put silicone directly on top of modified bitumen or granulated cap sheet is you will get tobacco staining or a yellow staining. So now that bright white roof that you looked for is now dingy and yellow. Now, it does not stop the performance and waterproofing component of it. So we do step by the fact knowing that it won't stop on performance. You may have a different cool rating just because you have a less reflective surface, but it is highly recommended to use a bleed blocker to avoid that. But in some conditions, someone has a roof on a high floor, they know that no one's going to see it. They just want the complete waterproofing component of it. You can apply silicone directly to it. You just make sure to do the adhesion test. But just know that it will have an aesthetic, off-putting nature to it because the bitumen will start bleeding out.
Excellent. I think you could proceed.
Good. Cool. Were you able to see, Simon? I know the camera, I'm doing on a weird one, but were you able to see the actual water test? Did it come out different? Because I set it up again just in case, but
Yeah, we saw it. It was small screen, and that's why I said to the group, when you see this live, when you see how much the dirt really comes off, you really get to understand why that white stays white longer, and the age thermal emittance and solar reflective indices are so good. No other competitor product has that. All right. How much
Yeah,
reduction in heat do your coverings give? This is by Gordon again. Which one is best for this? The reduction in heat varies. This is a good question for Paul. It does vary, typically from building to building, from country to country, from application to application. Um, I think people have seen anywhere as low as 7% to 50% energy savings. What what other measure would we use to measure the heat reduction? You know what I mean? It would be the energy savings. Paul,
yeah.
any case studies that we have or that you guys have? I've seen as high as 50, I've seen as low as, 7 to 10, 12%.
Yeah, it is all dependent on the roof and a myriad of different conditions based on the substrate insulation and the typing of the roof, climate, things of that nature. In regards to, I think the question was originally which one would be more recommended, acrylic or silicone. Is that right?
All right. Which one is the best one for this? Correct.
Yeah, so to answer that is silicone, and the reason why I would say that is not only just based on the inorganic nature of it and how it's the solid content. If you put solids 22 to 22 with 22 dry mils of silicone and 22 dry mils of acrylic, the acrylic by nature, and this isn't just ours, this is just the nature of acrylic, will lose about a mil every year, I believe is what it is, whereas silicone is about 1% degradation rate. So the truth of the matter is if you're going to use one, the superior product would be silicone because it's going to remain those factors that you're looking for. The heat resistance, the dirt pickup resistance, the ponding water exclusivity, all of that would remain with silicone because it's not losing as much product over year as much as an acrylic would. And that would still be the same with like a dirt pickup resistance, which is shown here, or just that white bright, is that it's going to remain a whiter, brighter, longer texture. So you're going to have those results year over year. If I were to look at a 10-year versus an acrylic and a silicone, I think that would prove the case. But I would have to look at that to see. But just based on the exact what we have and what we understand, that would be the best answer.
And based on what you saw, the DPUR technology, ours is going to stay white. Henry's is going to stay white longer. So on the same roof, Henry's is going to reduction is going to be the largest. All right, and one more question you answered already, but maybe he jumped in late. Can you paint the silicone base product after?
Yeah, it's a great question. It comes up a lot. Silicone, nothing will stick to silicone other than silicone. So it's going to be another silicone coating, top coating that's been tint dyed. We do custom colors. We obviously have standard colors, white, tan, and gray. But we also have some premium color options. So that would be the only option for, and I do those for schools. Schools are most of the time hospital groups. They may have certain patented branding that they want their color on the roof, that we can match those.
And just to make an addition to that, Jonathan, the silicone system typically is designed to give you a 10, 15, or 20-year life, depending on what thickness you want to go on it. After that period, you can easily recoat it. It's an easily maintained product with a further coat of silicone and get back your 10, 15, 12 years. Sherwin's next question is similar. Can repairs be done to the silicone if it gets damaged? And Paul, you want to give us a similar answer? Yes. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think that's the beauty of the system is if in a system that was not, if you were to go over in a 10, if say you're in a 15 year and 10 years down the road, you notice that there's some damages into the roof, you'd use a butter grade sealant or sealant type silicone to repair that and then top coat it with more 988 just to make sure you have that protective sheen and you're good to go. If you were to extend the life of silicone, we've done it with spray foam roofs, we've done it with siliconized roofs. You can actually add an additional layer, so you'd add another 22 dry mils of silicone would then extend the life of it. It's similar to like a TP or a single ply. You're getting a membrane, and I actually have some samples that I may be able to show on screen, and I'll try to delaminate them, but it actually shows what you're adding on. You're getting one nice waterproofing membrane.
The questions are coming in furious. In order to
Cool.
maintain the lifetime of 20 plus years, what kinds of maintenance is recommended?
Yeah, we have a
Thank you
full
for that.
schedule. We have a full schedule on our warranties, our outlay that will show for a 10, 15, or 20 year. You will need a maintenance plan. That's just to make sure that it is constantly being upkept. the application itself is a key. So we will typically do, once we get an authorized applicator on board, we will have the full screenings of pictures, testing, and everything reported, saved on file. So before we even issue a warranty, we have everything checked off on our end to make sure that it was applied correctly. We do a final walkthrough. We make sure any punch out items are addressed, make sure that we know that everything was done correctly, and then with the warranties issued. After that, for the building owner, would be the responsibility to have a maintenance plan for it to keep up on it. And as I mentioned before, with maintenance, it's as easy as, sealant grades or other coating silicones. You will not go if it's a silicone system with anything else other than silicone. I just want to make that's a typical one because we talked about acrylics and silicones not sticking. That is the best bet.
Simon, I just wanted to find out from Paul. Paul, is you're at the end of your formal presentation, or you have some more information to share?
I have a few more, and then I'll continue on with questions if that works.
Right. No, I just wanted to be sure, so I don't want to get you swept away with questions and then you don't get to complete. So if you can then jump back on your presentation, and then we will get into the questions full blown.
Absolutely. Excited for all your questions, everyone. Appreciate it. So to go over the rain safe, this is a test. It's a PVC pipe with a hose on top. It has holes through it. And what we did is we simulate a very heavy rain. So what we did was we put our 988 silicone versus the competitors. We lay it out on a similar fabric as what you saw with our dirt pickup resistant test. We waited 15 minutes to dry the silicone roof coating and then 30 minutes of heavy rain. And you see the results on the left and right. That's a big difference. That's when you have a roof like that, it may either wash off the silicone, which now you have a huge problem because you have silicone in places you don't want it, or off the roof or on other people's properties. Or to go over this, you'd have to add on you pretty much lost the work you did. With our 988 and the 15-minute rain safe technology, you'd be fine to continue coding. So it's really a big labor saver, time saver, and just a headache saver. But this is one of those tests that show that. And like the test before with this, I think it is something that you have to see in person. Simon has samples of this, and as you have any interest, he'll gladly go and show those tests because we love to put our products to the test. We're in demos and trade shows all the time. I love having contractors, engineers, architects just touching the product and trying it out for themselves. There's no magic witchcraft with it. It's just a high standing product. This is the waterproofing test. And so what this is the ASTM D7281. This is what all for to be considered a waterproofing membrane. So whether it's TPO, PVC, EPDM, and even with silicone, this test would have to be done. Our silicone passes this test. It's a hydraulic press that has water being pushed into it, in and out, up and down for I forget how long. But it goes through this test. Our silicone is set at a 20 mil. It's actually less than a 10-year spec. It's just 20 mils dry and sitting there, and it passed that test alone. There are others that will use silicone, but to pass this test, if you look at the actual details, they're using other membranes or other attachments to it to get the additional for it. So this really speaks to when you're adding those TiO2s, the cross linkers, all the nerddom of our silicone, it comes out to true waterproofing. This goes into if you have an asphaltic, if you have Modbit torch applied roof, this would be the base coat sealer that you'd apply down to it. It applies down gray. It would stop the stain blocking from getting into the acrylic. Just remember, with any type of coating, we're going over all these solutions. It always goes back to the very beginning, which we need a dry, sound roof. And I say that because while this will allow permeability and allow moisture to escape it, which is great with acrylics. If you have any moisture in that roof, silicone will trap it in there. And so sometimes you may be on a roof and see silicone have blisters on it. Typically, that would mean that there may be moisture trapped underneath there. Those water droplets are escaping. They start getting evaporated, become a vapor, and then blow out the silicone a little bit, creating bubbles. But this is one of the primers that you would use down onto that roof. This is a Henry exclusive. It's a 941 adhesion promoting primer. It's a one component film forming adhesion promoter. We put this on single pipe membranes, metal roofs, or even previously coated roofs. A lot of times we say silicone only sticks to silicone, but in testing, some silicones may not stick to other silicones. In the case, if that were to happen, this primer has a ton of adhesion promoters. It sprays on very thin. It's an acetone base, 400 to 600 square feet per gallon. You spray it out of a metal container with correct pipings. But once you spray it down, this after just a few minutes, it flashes off. You can then put silicone, and this would, in the case if it didn't pass an adhesion test, and it is a metal roof. This would be your priming source. You wouldn't have to do an acrylic based coating. So the spray's thinner. It's much more inexpensive, but it's a great solution for any times that you have brand new TPO on a roof. Maybe you have a section and you want to coat it. You brand new TPO with plasticizers that typically the silicone won't stick to it. This will help it stick to it. It's a Henry exclusive. It's one of my saving graces of primers. It's great. So those were our two primers. I'm going to go into the two sealants. This is our 923 butter grade sealant. This is what we would use on penetrations, flashing, seams, fasteners, and repairs. It's a mastic grade, butter grade. They come in 2-gallon pails. We also have those in tubes. And this is the fibered silicone repair sealer. This is our 957. And so you can see this has vertical and horizontal application. It's much more thicker. It is only troweled on because of its thickness. And you can see that in the second picture there. It's putting on a vertical wall. But it sticks very well. It's a very good additional reinforcement because it already has fibers built into it. That's also a Henry exclusive. The last Henry exclusive is our 928 pitch pocket self-leveling sealer. This actually competes with a few different things. But if you were to have a metal roof, which is what I have in foam at this point, but you may have a lot of fastener heads. And so this takes a lot of time because, as I mentioned before, fastener heads are going to be the entry point for most water, right? So with our products, you have two options to seal it. You have the butter grade, which this is a butter grade in a tube, a 920, and you just circle around the fastener, making a Hershey kiss sort of formation, making sure it's fully encapsulated. But even in that, once you're done, you'd have to tool it in. Trying to mess around here with the camera, so I'm trying to get my best option. But you'll see there's a couple gaps right in there, and that's water intrusion. So each fastener head would be covered and protected with a sealer, and then tooled over with a brush to make sure that it's fully encapsulating it. That takes a lot of time. For the same cost, you can use a self-leveling sealer, which is the 928 that we have here, and it's also a pitch pocket filler. It's a self-leveling sealer, again, with flat roofs or high pitches. You wouldn't want to use it on something with a high pitch because it's going to sag down, but anything 312 or less to flat, it's going to be perfect for it. So I'll do a quick demo just to show you kind of the application technique. See if I'll just hit a couple fasteners here. See what I got. Just trying to see where the camera has it. So this would be how we'd want to fasten or seal each fastener head. Not too long. Then from there, you'd go take a brush, tool in, pushing down pressure, sealing all the way to the bottom of each one. That's what takes most of the time. You want to make sure that it's fully down there. Trying not to make a mess because I have to eat dinner on this table in about 30 minutes. The wife would not like it. Okay, the next is self-leveling sealer. So I'm going to put a couple dots. I'm very heavy-handed, but that's because I sell the product and I love when people use it. And what you're seeing here is it's actually fully encapsulating already on the roof fastener. If you see, if I move it down, it'll start going with the roof. But just in a flat setting, it's going to fully encapsulate that fastener head. When it's cured out, show bonding on wood. This shows the stages of the silicone itself, the butter grade, has some gaps. You want to fully encapsulate it, tool it in, and really put pressure down. Now, here's a big thing. When those fastener heads need to be removed, say there's movement in high heat, there's deflection happening. Those fasteners will move in high heat to cool heat, constantly moving in and out, in and out. Over time, that will create a little bit of space. And so that space will allow for water to go in. So now if you're going and doing a repair on that roof, to access those fastener heads, you have to completely strip this out and put a whole new larger fastener head into it. With this, since you already see that's cured out, you can see each fastener head. Getting your tool over it very easily, you can strip the fastener head and then put a new larger fastener head on top and then seal over it again. So it's a really big time saver, and that goes into the details of the self-leveling fastener, self-leveling silicone. You tell my COVID presentations got a little bit better because I can try to work out a live presentation in front of everyone, but I think the product just speaks really well when you can see it in action. This is the 920 that I was using. It's a butter grade, and it's great just for if you need termination bars or more detailed work like fastener heads, but it's the same as the 2-gallon pail, same product. Maintenance, repairs, and leak solutions. These are the three that we have. It's our butter grade in the tube, pitch pocket and self-leveling sealer, and then repair cement sealants. That's for another time, another conversation, part of our other line of products. So just to recap, why pro-grade silicone roof coatings, strong chemical bond, higher load of cross linkers, TiO2 versus fillers, a great catalyst which keeps it rain safe in 15 minutes, remains workable and easy to apply, and the solid contents are perfect for application. So now I know you guys have quite a bit of questions. So I wanted to rush through that just so I can go through it. I can easily go through anything again, but thank you for the time. And if we can go through questions, if we have time.
Yes, sir. We have some questions, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Paul, for your presentation. Certainly a lot of information was shared this evening and a quite diverse and expansive product range. So my first question is going to be to Simon. So Simon, can you let us or tell us basically if the full product range that Paul would have just introduced us to is available from Harrison, Barbados?
The presently in Barbados, no, and we're not going to buy all the products and stock all the products. We started this as part of our special order solution program, meaning that we got a couple projects to work on, and as I said, we've been testing the products. We're not looking to manage this as a retail business. We are looking to manage this as more of a project oriented. So we do have silicone on the ground and one or two of the complements, but not everything in stock. And we don't really plan to unless, we hope that it gets that big and that the demand grows. But as you can see, even just between the flashings alone, there's options. Is the Barbados market going to go towards the acrylics versus the silicones, which is the ones we believe in? You know what I mean? So we do have product on the ground, not the full range. And as you've seen, there's also a wider range of other things that we do want to get involved as well. So right now it's a project-oriented business.
Thanks for that, Simon. And I just want to say welcome to a couple guests I see. I have Mr. Martin Rene. He's joining us from St. Lucia, so thanks for coming over, Martin. Michael Babb, who I know has been in this area for quite some time as an applicator. So, Michael, I'd be interested in any questions you can throw at Paul. And several architects and engineers that I've worked with. So thank you guys for coming out this evening and availing yourself of the information. Question that we need to discuss. Obviously, we have a lot of persons here who would be doing specification for projects, etc. Price point, Simon. What does the price point look like in Barbados?
Sorry, my mic was on mute. We should have one of the most competitive pricings in the market. We would have obviously done, market testing in the early phases and so forth. And, we negotiated with that with Paul. I mean, as you can see, the product has gone through a lot more testing, a lot more certifications than some of the competitors. So it was not a cheap product to use. And we were happy about the ingredients that they were using, being a paint manufacturer ourselves. We're very, very proud. Again, that's part of why we parted with Henry. We said, hey, you guys have what looks to us to be the best product. this is the price that the market has competitors at. And Paul and the team very willing to work with us. So we have a fantastically competitive pricing right now on the ground.
Okay, and for the benefit of my colleague from St. Lucia, Simon, this product is also or would also be available in St. Lucia for any of his projects?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very good. All right. I want to you mentioned just no price point. We spoke a little bit earlier about approved applicators. Um, how important is that for you, Paul, in terms of ensuring your warranty for your projects that will be done here? And Simon, how successful have you been in developing a cadre of recognized applicators that Harris locally will be able to suggest to some of our engineers and architects and designers and contractors in this group?
Paul, you going first or let me go ahead?
So to answer the question of authorized applicators, it's vital for any warranted system. It's mandatory that they are authorized applicator with Henry to offer those warranties.
And to answer the second part, Vincent, we have reached out to contractors on the ground, contractors, some of them in this very meeting. We have started the process with some. We have been working the product already with some. Nobody I could say is certified yet. However, we do have the faith that we do have the technical capability. We just need some of the admin work to be done and put in and submitted, and then the follow-ups to go on. So it's a work in progress, if you want to put it that way. And I would be happy to receive the request from any other contractors. Obviously, there's a little bit of a interview program in terms of knowing that you use good equipment and you have good practice and so forth, and then we put together the application to be approved to Henry together. So we'd be happy to support that. As Paul said, we want it. The more we can have and the better applicators we can have, the more comforted we are to sign the warranties.
And Simon, obviously, if we have contractors here who would like to become approved applicators, what I would want you to do is just to give us a idea of how they get into contact with you and what the process looks like to become qualified. Obviously, the benefit of being an approved applicator with Harris Paints, guys, is that if there are projects that this product is being used on in the region, and they're looking for approved applicators, then obviously you will be on a list, as it were, of persons that Simon could reach out to if he's looking for people. So there's quite a lot of work. Simon and I were discussing offline earlier in Guyana right now, for instance, a lot of industrial type projects, bridges, the whole nine works being built out. So in terms of being an approved applicator, I would think that would have some benefit to persons. So Simon, can you walk us through how becoming an approved applicator looks like?
It's just like any application process, unfortunately. You just basically start with a form and you go through the form. You have to have the prerequisites. You know, there's a couple of things on it that are administrative as well, insurance and other documents. But it's really a qualitative check on the applicator's skill and not skill set, but you know, you need to have the tools, the right tools to do the right job, you know? So just a process of ensuring that the contractors are familiar with best practice, best systems in terms of how to use the adhesion test, for example, that was mentioned, to ensure that the coating is stick, as I mentioned a little earlier. What we're seeing a lot in the Caribbean is we going on roofs and good products are there, but they're not sticking. And you know, we're seeing that contractors have that need to know what was the extra thing they should have done. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to share I don't know exactly what's the process you will guide, but I'm happy to share my contact information when this is done. Obviously, it's just a matter of getting the contractors who are interested names down and so forth, and then we have an initial conversation, and then we can start to pass the documents that you go through.
Okay, so Simon, apart from the documentation aspect, do you guys bring in trainers to show the guys how to do the applications, or how is that part of the program administered?
And Paul could talk on that too, but yes, that's all part of the plan. As needed, like for example, there are a couple of projects we're looking at right now, and we sort of want to bring, because we don't have the certified applicator right now, we want to bring Henry down to work with the team on the project, do the first, you know, couple hundred square feet, that sort of thing. So the short answer is yes. Right now, again, is a little bit more project specific. Paul and I have had conversation about having a contractor forum in Barbados. It's something that would be fantastic for us. What it would require, the right applicators, applying, showing interest, wanting to do it, going through the initial phase of, okay, you have good equipment, you have good practices, we think you can be approved, and then we can have that set up.
All right, well, Simon, that sounds exciting. So let me get some other questions in. I saw Michael's hand up earlier. Michael, Bab, did you want to answer a question?
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you for welcoming me earlier. I was here, but I was trying to kind of figure out, with this technology, how to raise your hand, how to unmute clear. I just want to make a short statement. I mean, the presentation was fantastic. We have been in this business for many, many years, and we had the opportunity to use this material on a project. And I would say to you guys, uh, it ticks a lot of boxes for me. It ticked a lot of boxes. It was quite a pleasure to use it. And it filled the whole gamut of what the expectations would be. I think we're experiencing some significant climate change, where we're seeing a lot of issues with roof membranes. They're becoming uh, undone at the seams because of the heat. Uh, and we have used this product on approximately about 9,000 square feet so far. And during the whole process of the application, even the smell that the applicator was exposed to was quite comfortable. Although you're on the outdoors, generally silicones have a very high volatile organic compound. So you notice that you're working with a silicone. But what I found with this product was that it was fantastic. You didn't have to be, constantly adjusting your respirator or things like that. It was quite easy to use. So I think you guys at Harris Paints and BH Paints are on the right track. I think developing more interest from the applicators, they will find it a pleasure to use. And as I said, it ticks all the boxes when it comes to the full waterproofing scenario. So I just wanted to share that, and looking forward to any on the islands training. We bounce around with a couple of the islands, uh, because the Caribbean is now getting smaller, as our prime minister would say. She's welcoming everybody, and she's encouraging us to go anywhere. It's one Caribbean. So thanks again, and I look forward to any presentations in persons you guys will have, any demos, and we'll be happy to attend.
All right, Michael, thanks for that. And as I said, I know you are very much an experienced applicator, so I can speak to that most definitely. So, Simon, you have your go ahead for the in-person session that we were discussing earlier. So we need to have a discussion to see how we can best set that up. I have some questions in the chat as well I would like to convey to you guys. So earlier, Simon, you would have mentioned the non-slip additive for HVAC walkways. Now, from my work experience, working on using several different types of membranes and coatings on roofs and so on, this is one of the areas that we fall down on particularly badly in terms of really reinsuring that integrity of a roof system, where you have a nicely finished roof, but unfortunately you do not create dedicated pathways to access plant areas on the roof. And then the converse of that is also to train the technicians that go out on the roof not to drop screws and nails and all these lovely things, and then proceed to walk and press them into the coatings and into the substrate. So in terms of your non-slip and dedicated pathways, Paul, can you give us an idea how you guys set that down and what that looks like?
For a non-slip application.
Non-slip, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The silicone is going to be very slippery by nature. So for walkways, walk paths, for bird pecks, for adding additional strength, you would inherit granules into it. So you can do like a 3M granular, white, whichever color you're looking for, gray. Typically, white's going to be ideal. You once you have your dry millage coating set down, you do a sacrificial layer, so about a gallon per 100 square feet, just to get that down, and then embed the granules into it until rejection. So just really hammering it into it. Once it's cured out, I wish I had a sample of that, but that would actually have your walkway because now you have an additional UV inhibitor. You have granulated stone into there, and so it's going to give you a better, more aggregated surface to walk on.
Now,
So
Paul,
we've done that with I'm sorry we've done that with different color pathways too. You may have a white, all white, and then may have a walkway that is top coated with that superficial layer, maybe gray, maybe a safety yellow, and then embedded with granules that may also match that color to give it a more definitive way of saying this is the walkway and path. We don't want them on softer parts of the ceiling, the roof, but we don't want them also, fully out of budget.
yeah, no, I like the distinguishing color feature because I think that's very important because then the technician has no excuse why he didn't take the path that he was supposed to take, right? But Paul, what I want to find out, one of the faults we have with, let's say, torchon applied membranes, once the granules start to break down, they can clog up a drain, etc. How adherent will your substrate be to hold those granules in place?
They hold them very well. There's a test I have them, but they're in my garage. I've done this with our cements as well as our silicones. Once you throw it down there, as long as make sure that it's a wet surface, you don't want it any cured out. So because of that rain safe 15-minute, once you put down the coat, you want someone following shortly after embedding the granules into it. If you do throw it after the fact, then you may have loose granules, but you do want to blow them out the next day just to make sure that everything is gone and cover that from away so that it's not into your anywhere that it shouldn't be.
Okay. A question from Rabindra Mahadio. And that question is, what is the lead time for products after ordering? So that comes in at you, Simon.
Typically 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, depending, depends on stock and shipping factors. But it comes pretty fast. I've had good experiences where it's arrived in 2 to 3 weeks, and I've had experiences where it's delayed as well. The
Okay.
silicone, as I mentioned, I plan to keep that in stock, and anything else that the contractors deem as what I would consider essential, like the silicone. So I hope to get the self-leveling sealer. We have some flashing as well and so forth. So I hope to have majority of what you need in stock when you come.
So Simon, that's 3 to 5 weeks Barbados. What about St. Lucia?
Similar, very similar. Jamaica is a little bit faster. All the islands are very similar, 3 to 5.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question comes from Justin Leslie. And Justin is asking, what is the spread per square foot for the silicone roof coating? Paul?
So that's dependent on the substrate, the material site, the substrate, as well as the warranty system that you're looking for. Base guide, when someone asks that question, I'll kind of give a 10-year spec. So if you have a modified sheet, then you'd have to use your bleed blocker that goes around a gallon and a quarter, 1.25 gallons for every 100 square feet. And then you would then put the top coat of 988 silicone at 2 gallons for every 100 square feet. For any other surface that's smooth, that would be smooth cap sheet, concrete, metal, single ply, or SPF. You would use 1.5 gallons for every 100 square feet. So a 5-gallon pail would get you about 300 square feet. And that would be a base spec of about 10 years.
Okay, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
We have a follow-up question again from Justin. He's asking, can any of the coatings that you guys offer work on coral stone wall surfaces, which is a very porous, tight, natural stone?
That's a good
I,
question. Go ahead, Paul.
huh?
Go
What was
ahead.
that? Okay.
So
I
that's a
haven't had
very
that.
major.
So are these systems that you're typically seeing a lot in where you are? The stone?
Well, coral stone is a traditional building material here in Barbados. It was traditionally mined from quarries here and used as a natural building material until the advent of concrete blocks. So on a lot of older properties, you will have coral stone block work as your main construction element. But in some modern features, architects also use them for cladding and creating features and so on. The challenge we have is the because it is so porous, you can get profuse mold growth and darkening of the surface over time. So guess what? Justin is wanting to find out any of your products, because they're silicone based, would you have perhaps like a clear coat that you could apply to something like that that would help maintain that fresh look without becoming moldy and discolored over time for that porous type scenario?
Yeah, we haven't tested with that. So as a manufacturer standpoint, we wouldn't be able to back anything from there. If I were to get experimental and say if I had a surface area myself that I can put the coral limestone down, which when I'm Googling, it looks like it's primarily composed of calcium carbonate. So it's going to be a chalk base, but it's also going to be porous. If you flood coated it with a skylight silicone, which is a clear silicone, to test it out. But that would be more of a testing. To answer the question, I don't have studies onto it, so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
All right, well, thanks for that.
Yep.
A question from my friends from the land of the Pitons, Mr. Rene. Would cracks in a concrete roof, say up to 3 millimeters wide, hey guys, I think we had a freeze there just now. What's the last thing you heard me say?
Cracks on a concrete roof.
Right. So what I was asking, Paul, if you can give us an example of how you would attend to that particular scenario, 3 millimeter wide crack on a concrete roof, what would be your application recommendation?
Yeah, based on I would actually discuss that with my waterproofing division to the concrete to make sure that the concrete is treated correctly before. I wouldn't fill it with a silicone base or anything. What I can do is I can follow up on that question, and I think it was Martin Renee that asked that.
That's
But I
correct.
can relay it back to Simon if he can bring it back to the group with the answer, because I want to make sure I give you a clear cut for that one.
All right. Well, thanks, Paul. Simon, you can feed that question back and I can get the information onto Martin. Okay. All right. Let's go to Oliver's question. Oliver is an architect. It is really not advisable to coat limestone. It needs to breathe. So I think that is Oliver talking to you, Justin, just to give you a bit of advice in that regard. All right. And Felicia was just confirming that coral limestone. So she was just giving a bit more definition there. All right. So the products that you have, Paul, they do seem very interesting. Simon, I am anxious, having worked with several products here in Barbados, to see certainly a test case. Is there any projects at present, Simon, that you can point to where this product is being used in Barbados, in case any of our engineers and architects wanted to get in contact with you to actually go and have a look?
Yeah, that's when before we came into this presentation, we said that's the one weak point. We don't have case studies to show. It's not that we don't have to show, it's that they're private.
Mhm.
And I can't invite everybody to everybody. So we will have to, have that conversation separately. As Michael, as Mr. Bob said, there are jobs that were done. But again, it's not open to the public jobs yet that I could say, hey, I could invite everybody. I would be happy to make the inquiry to see if I can take you, that sort of thing. But it's not something that I could even. I wanted to include pictures, and I could, you know what I mean. I was kind of bound by that. So the short answer is yes, but the long answer is yes. I want to have ones that I can invite all of you to.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Paul, something a roofing substrate that's very popular here in the Caribbean is permaclad or um, sheeting material, whether it's permaclad, galvanized, a combination of alu zinc, etc. I was interested, and I saw one of your products earlier. You said you did not need the fabric to necessarily coat the seams. Can you speak a little bit on that? You would have gone into some detail about coating the screw heads, which was good. But could you actually talk about the product itself and how it would work with those sheets and the potential for the movement that you get in a metal sheet, but especially with the very high heat that we've been getting in the region in recent times?
Yeah, absolutely. So most common with, as we went over with screw head fasteners, you'd want to seal those self-leveling or butter grade. If we're looking at a siliconized system and you're looking at a metal roof to make sure that those seams are covered, we would not recommend fabric, but you can use a butter grade sealant. So that would be the same as the white tube, but it would also just be in a 2-gallon pail. You reinforce it 4 inches on center to make sure that it's striped over. That's going to help with that deflection. There's more elongation and tensile strength in that butter grade that would help reinforce it. You could also use the fibered butter grade as well. So both would work in the same application, but that's going to give, just like with any of our systems with metal, we always has to be butter graded on the seams as well as the fastener heads. There's no, light coat over it. It needs to be sealed over. But that would be the best way. If you use a fabric, if it was more than an 1/8 inch of deflection that you have and you want to use a fabric, you can use that and you'd still embed it with the butter grade as well.
Okay. One other area that you mentioned is that the product permits for potable grade water. Um, have you guys used it in water tanks per se, or are you just using it as a roof coating so that the water that is collected is safe for use? Similar to, I know some places like Bermuda, for instance, is very strict with collecting rainwater, etc. Which of those applications do you see your product being most effective in?
Yeah, I specifically with Henry, our products are backed and tested only for roof application for our coatings. On waterproofing, that's a little bit different, but for what I discussed, it wouldn't be with tanks. If you wanted to do that on as experimental, you can, but for what I spoke on, it's the latter. It's going to be for roofs and rain safe catchment.
Okay, fantastic. Roger Austin, another gentleman who has very au fait with coatings. He would have given Justin some more information, probably Oliver as well. He said you can coat the coral render finish, but you require a breathable membrane with elastomeric properties. So Ollie, you can give Roger a call and he can tell you what he's got in his base. All right, so I'm going to give you two goodly gentlemen a final bite at the cherry and to give us any last minute information. Simon, in particular, if you could let your Barbadian audience know who at Harris here in Barbados they need to reach out to if they want to get hold of some of your products, perhaps put in an order for a project. So, Paul, as you are our guest from over and away, as we was in the Caribbean, let's start with you first, and then we're going to move to Simon.
Yeah, I just appreciate your time. I went over all the products I needed. So if there's any questions you have, you can look me up, Paul Valentin on LinkedIn. Always looking to help however I can. We have a full staff team of engineers, architect, designers to help out, as well as on-field technicians and experts. So just thanks everyone for your time and your questions.
Great, thanks, Paul. Simon?
As we were speaking before, I'm available via email, WhatsApp. I'll be very happy to share my contacts with those who have interest in the product information or further details, projects, that sort of thing. We do have a new trade sales manager in Barbados as well. I would love to introduce to everybody. His name is Dominic Young. So whatever the forum is, Vincent for sharing the contact information. I would be very happy to do so, whether it's through this, after this, or however we do it via email or whatever. But I'm available Monday to Friday for discussions and so forth. And we have the persons on the ground in Barbados regularly, and as well I would come and visit, of course, periodically. So we're very
Thanks.
available.
That sounds great. If you could perhaps have Tracy share she did a nice flyer with your contact details and that of the local representative, and then we can circulate that through the same medium that we'd have used to circulate the information for the meeting this afternoon. To Simon and myself will work together, guys, to bring a in-person session for you. So I will have details on that in the near future. Obviously, Simon and I will have to work through the logistics of that, and he would have to let me know from his side, basically what he's looking to bring and expose you guys to. Simon, would it only be the Henry products, or would you be looking on that occasion to perhaps expose the greater community to other industrial coating products, etc.?
With a Henry, we would more than likely stick with Henry products. It's would be fantastic to have a forum that is wide across the board. But just as we were speaking on the portable tank water lining when that comment came up. It brought up all of my, and I know a couple other guys in here too, all of our NACE training and so forth. Why we would not use a silicone in a portable water tank? It's a whole different application, environment, certification. You know what I mean? So it's kind of difficult to do too many complex things at once. I would stick Henry with Henry and focus on the roofing and maybe step out into some of the envelope building systems, and the spray polyurethane foam is exciting as well. But I would do it that way for now.
All right, Simon, thank you so much. Paul, there is one last question I want to throw at you before we go this evening. If you could come back on for a minute. I hope you haven't started clearing the table for dinners yet. What can you explain very briefly to us, Paul? Obviously, one of the main competitors to your silicone product would be polyurethanes. So can you explain to us the main difference between silicones, polyurethanes, and acrylics?
Oh boy, that's a whole different presentation that I have. Big differences between those are going to be your tensile strength, your UV degradation rates are different, as well as application and what can adhere to it. Silicone can only be adhered to silicone. Urethanes, you can have other coatings applied on top of it. I'm sorry, you said polyurethanes?
Well, yes, polyurethanes.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's just there's different function for different applications. So dependent on what the goal that you're looking for would be based on the recommendation. If it's a high slope, an acrylic may be best featured. If you have custom colors, an acrylic may be a good feature. Silicones are going to give that the lack of impermeability, good waterproofing. Urethanes have great strength and tensile strength as well to them. So it really does depend on the project. And those are things that I'll gladly go over in detail with any projects that you have that we can recommend because we have the full product line.
Fantastic. All right, Paul, thanks for that. I know that was a last minute zinger, but I'm happy that you were able to lift the ball over square. So that's good stuff. All right, so thank you, gentlemen, for really making the time to come and chat with us. I know we had a delay in this bringing this presentation because I had to be back and forth to my good friend Martin in St. Lucia. But I'm happy that we were able to bring the presentation this evening, and we had a fairly decent turnout of professionals from across the construction, architectural, engineering disciplines. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, and we look forward, Simon, to that in-person session, which we will need between myself, yourself, and Tracy, I guess, can work through in the coming weeks to make that a reality for persons here in Barbados. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, guys. Just a reminder to our members, we do have our Engineers Week coming up, and I would want to ask and implore you, goodly gentlemen and ladies, to submit your projects for consideration for Engineering Project of the Year. That is still very much open, and we would ask you if you know you have a project of engineering interest that has been or will be completed by the end of next month. If you could please submit that for consideration, that will be wonderful. You can submit through the BAPE office. If you go onto the website, there should be some information there for the criteria for the engineering project of the year. Also, if there are members of your practice that you may be aware of that you would want to recommend that they be elevated to the status of fellow, we would ask that you would encourage them to submit their details so that the fellowship committee can review and then make a determination as who may ascend to that noble status this year. So without further ado, I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you soon again. We have some other presentations on the cards coming up. So please do keep an eye out in the chats and in the WhatsApps, etc., for information that we will share with you. I give you every reassurance that we want to bring some more exciting sessions, including a HVAC session, which should be coming up probably next month. So thank you so much, and do have a good night.